So it's been brought to my attention that people among the Forsaken community think that Noli is fun to go against and feels great to play as, according to these polls in the Forsaken Discord. I don't agree with either of these statements, because for one, he is currently filled with bugs, and he's also just flat out weak. I'd even go as far to say that Noli is the weakest killer currently in Forsaken. Now I know this is a bit of a controversial take, but I feel like most people who don't agree with me are just blinded by recency bias. In this video, I'll explain my thoughts on why I think Noli is bad, as well what I would do with his moveset to make it more balanced and fun. Also, just a heads up, I'm not explaining Noli's entire moveset in this video. Every other Noli video does that. If you're watching this, I'd hope you already know what he can do at this point. Okay, let's start with his M1, which is probably one of the worst things about him. Let me just clear the air and say that Noli's M1 is the worst of all the M1 attacks in the game. And it's by a pretty large margin too. The two main things that make up an M1 are the wind-up speed and the damage. Jason has about what I consider a standard M1 with 28 total damage and a fast wind-up. John Doe, on the other hand, has a large wind-up but is traded for more instant damage. Noli's M1 has both a slow wind-up and the lowest damage output in the whole game. Why both? We could have at least made the damage higher for a hard-to-hit M1 that is slow and easy to dodge. To fix this, I would probably make the wind-up speed faster by cutting the wind-up at least in half or more. But if the devs were so insistent on making Noli's M1's attack so slow, then I would make Noli's M1 do more damage, or at least add some sort of status effect on hit that will guarantee more damage. Not to mention, the devs decided to make the M1 have a visual cue for when the M1 starts, and a sound cue for when you can M1 again. Just why? That's literally asking for a guest to run into you in the middle of a chase and parry your attack. So I got a lot of things to say about Void Rush. Let's start from the top, I guess. Void Rush is probably the buggiest attack in the game right now. For some reason, every time I charge it, there's like a 50-50 it'll cancel out for no reason, or it will actually work. Also, I find the first hit of the rush, for whatever reason, just launches the survivor away or momentarily glitches them out, making the follow-up slam harder to hit. Void Rush could be considered Noli's big damage risky move, just like Jason's Gashing Wind or a Cool Kid Walk Speed Override. When compared to the other high damaging attacks, I still find Noli's to be the worst. It does the lowest damage if you don't land the first hit, and it's horrendously easy to dodge. Even if you don't see this move coming, there's still a super obvious sound cue like a speeding car when he's near with this move. Also a separate cue for when it's being charged up, so all you have to do is be a little more aware when you hear them. As hard as it is to land this move once on any survivor who's paying attention, why not make it so you have to land it a second time for the move to do full damage? Bouncing from survivor to survivor is fun and can sometimes be effective, but if you're not paying attention to what sentinels are nearby, they'll just run up and break your combo chain before you get your next re-rush. If I could touch up this move, I would do a few things. First of all, since this move is so hard to land, I would increase the turn rate so it becomes a little more tricky to juke. And I think increasing the first part of the move to 20 or 25 damage, but decreasing the other part of the move to 30 or 35 or something would be good. This is because right now, the first hit of the move does not feel rewarding at all. The current 10 damage it does feels like an absolute joke on any survivor and is super easy to brush off for characters like Guest and any other character with 100 health or over. If it did more damage, it would actually feel like you were making progress when this move lands, because right now it only feels rewarding to land the second slam. Another thing I would change is the audio. Either make a different sound cue that isn't so obvious, or just crank down the volume and the radius a survivor can hear it from. The point of this move is to catch survivors off guard because it's so hard to land, so why not make it actually effective at doing so? Anyways, I think that's enough. Let's move on to his Nova move, which I also have multiple problems with. Nova is Noli's ranged ability. I think it's most comparable to Corrupt Nature, so let's do that. Corrupt Nature will slow anyone hit down for 4 seconds, which actually has a pretty big impact on the chase, especially if the Cool Kid is nearby. Nova, on the other hand, can only pull survivors towards the center of the explosion. This has almost no value for catching up. You can only capitalize off this move if you're directly next to the hit survivor or extremely close to them. However, there's no reason you should be right next to the survivor hit by Nova since it's a ranged ability. The only exception is when you're comboing after a missed stun or something. This has almost no value for catching up. The damage is pretty low and I feel like it should do a little more, especially if you hit them square with the Void Star. Then maybe give them a damage boost for that, considering it's pretty hard to do. It's so easy to just mindlessly spam Nova. I feel like the square hit damage boost would give people more of a push to try and actually land this move square on instead of just randomly throwing it at walls. Another idea I had was to make the move suck you into the middle of the explosion still, but maybe hold you there with a helpless debuff for maybe just 1 second. This would be infinitely better for helping Nully catch up. Also, it could lead to some pretty cool combos. Observant is Nully's sight and tracking ability that also comes with lots of mobility. I actually have the least problems with this move, just a few nitpicks. I'm gonna get personal one out of the way first. Sometimes when I'm in a rush and I click the button to use Observant, sometimes I accidentally click it again on accident, which will cancel out the entire ability, so I have to wait a while to actually use it. This really sucks. Why not just make it so it'll work until you actually click a generator, or at least instantly put it off cooldown if you cancel it before teleporting. Anyways, onto some real problems. If any chances or other instant stun sentinels like Shedletsky is nearby, when you use this move they can easily run up to you and stun you, cancelling your Observant before you even have time to choose a generator to teleport to. I would love to give the generator choosing sequence iframes for the duration, but I could see how it could be a little overpowered. There are also way too many Qs for this move. It'll play global Q on every single generator, fake or not, on the map, indicating that Nully is using Observant, another Q for when Nully doesn't choose that generator, and a completely separate Q for when Nully chooses the generator. The final of the three taking forever for him to actually appear, and the survivor nearby that generator that Nully was hoping to catch is most likely already gone. I say get rid of the Observant choosing generator Q, where all the generators go black and there's a phone ringing sound or whatever it is, and make the teleport slightly faster. This could give Nully more of a chance to reach a certain survivor that was nearby the generator if that's what he's planning to do with the ability. Nully's hallucination passive isn't the worst thing ever, but it's just that most of said hallucinations Nully can conjure are kind of pointless. At hallucination tier 1, the survivor will see the timer displaying the incorrect amount of time. This is beyond pointless because the last 30 seconds of the round are the only time you need to lock in more than normal, and the different ambience when there's 30 seconds left will still play for the hallucinating survivor, giving them a heads up that the round is almost over. Other than that, not knowing how much time is left is just more annoying than harmful. On the second layer of hallucinations, survivor may start seeing fake support items. I'm gonna quick go through these. Elliot's pizza can be easily determined from the fake ones because the fake ones will just materialize out of nowhere, whereas a real Elliot will often run out in front of you to give you a pizza. The fake Builderman dispenser is beyond useless as well, because I'm pretty sure they can spawn anywhere on the map, so if there's just a lone dispenser in the middle of the map, it's going to be blatantly obvious that it's just a Nully hallucination. A real Builderman would actually try to conceal his dispenser so the killer can't find it. Also, I wanted to mention the hallucinations don't really feel like much of a punishment at all. For something that's supposed to be Nully's whole gimmick, it just feels not really dangerous. The fake healing items don't do anything. If you pick it up, it only takes the HP back or something. It would be infinitely better if you were to actually get punished in some way for falling for Nully's tricks. Maybe you could get your aura revealed for longer, weakness debuff, or even some slowness or something. At a tier 3 hallucination, a fake Nully will manifest and start to attack the survivor. This is probably the only passable hallucination because at times, if both Nullys are on your screen at once, you may not know which was which. But you really just have to pay attention to the movement styles to figure it out. The fake Nully has really choppy movement, and can't even reach you at certain points on the map. Also, you can completely avoid taking fake damage that doesn't matter from hallucination Nully if you just don't look at it. The most fake Nully can do for the real Nully is conceal like a Void Rush or something. I will give credit where credit is due. The fake Nully has actually allowed me to get hit by a few sneaky Void Rushes. Also, the Dusukar shield you'll see at Hallucination 3 doesn't matter at all either. If you look up and there's no Dusukar, then whoop-de-doo, it's just a fake. Just like the other fake support items, this has no real value for Nully actually catching you. In conclusion, Nully definitely needs many tweaks in order to boost him up to the other level the killers are on. I would 100% say I'm happy with this update still, and while Nully is weak, he's still very much capable of clearing lobbies and server wiping in the right hands, but so can all the other killers and they can do it better. I sure hope they do something about Nully's chase theme though. It kinda sucks. Goodbye.